Hello again. Today we're going to work a little bit of reverse chain stitch, and as far as I'm concerned that's the only way to make a lovely closed chain. The usual method of chain stitch you see in books is usually lots of little horseshoes interconnected, but that doesn't really work very well with Crewel because the wool doesn't lie well onto the linen when you do that. So my method is to come up in a little space here and then get quite near the top of a line and then to go down into the same hole. So you're making a loop that actually is coming up and down in the same hole, and then come up a little way away, perhaps 1/4 of an inch. You might want to make it bigger. Just experiment because you need to see what works for your personal tension. And as you can see, this loop is going to be the chain. So the start stitch is actually a lazy daisy. So I've just made that chain and I've caught it down with the top with a couching stitch. So that's the top of my line. And then come up a little way below that. And what I do, instead of poking through the wool where you might catch the needle in the wool, I reverse my needle and angle it at 45 degrees, and then I just bump that along the surface of the linen and underneath the chain you've just made. Take it out to the side and then pass your needle back through the linen through the same hole that you just came out of. So again, come up, and again I'm using these little ridges in the linen to guide the size that I'm happy with. Pass your needle underneath the previous stitch and then take your needle down. Now you'll see that I'm not pulling tightly, I'm just letting this chain sit on the top of the linen because it's a decorative stitch, and one of the appeals of crewel work is that it looks 3D. Now this is a stitch that anyone can do very easily, and of course you can work it on a straight line, around a curve, you can work lines of it one after the other, but if I was doing that I always go back to the top of a line. So I would go back to the top of that line if I was working a tree trunk or something like that, come up next to it. But if I'm right-handed, I'd come up on the left-hand side, not the right-hand side. So take that to the other side, Phillipa, get it right. Come down from the top of the line to create the first stitch, which is a lazy daisy. Loop over the top, remember just couch that down, and then come up below it, and now you can get your needle in between the line you've already done and this first stitch. So that's very comfortable. Whereas if I'd come up on the right hand side, I would be catching the stitch to the left of me here. So that works for me pretty well, and of course you can change the colours as you go down. So as you run out of a thread, just change to a new colour, and I often think that's a very easy thing to do to make it look artistic and subtle rather than have just stripes and stripes and stripes of the same colour.